Your son just started 8th grade and he's already struggling with homework. Just like last year. What are you going to do? Well, let's talk about that today on Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in helping kids, teens, and families to live happier lives. I lead 2 organizations, Teen Therapy Center and the non-profit 501c3 organization, Child and Teen Counseling, both here in Woodland Hills, California. Every Wednesday at noon, I jump onto Facebook Live to answer your parenting questions. Let's answer today's. My son just started 8th grade, and already we're having a really tough time with the homework. This has been a struggle for us in the past. He has a really hard time staying focused, and it feels like what should take him an hour to complete takes 2 or 3. I used to sit with him and help him, but it would cause so much tension in our relationship. I feel like he should be old enough now to do it on his own. Any advice? Yes. Thank you for your question. I think a lot of parents, again, can really relate to this one. First thing, you want to rule some things out. Has your son been assessed for any learning differences, visual processing issues, auditory processing issues, attention issues? And if so, are those being treated appropriately? There's a wide variety of ways to treat that, right? There's medication, there's educational therapy, there's vision therapy, all just to name a few. But let's assume we've ruled that out. We assume that he's been tested, he's fine, he's just bored and just finds homework tedious and he doesn't want to do it. And you're tired of arguing with him. And I agree with you. You shouldn't argue with him. Here's the thing, and I'm going to say something, and it's controversial, and a lot of people disagree with this. And when I say this, some parents may clutch their pearls. But here's the thing. His homework, while important, is not the most important thing in his life. At 13, whatever grade he gets in his math class is not going to set him up for anything in his life. It's not going to matter. What will matter at 13 is his relationship with you. His relationship with you is so much more important than how he does in school. And again, this is the controversial part. I believe, and it's through my experience working with a lot of different kids who graduate high school with a 2.0 GPA but have a really loving, supportive relationship with their family and their parents are much better prepared for success in life than the kid who graduates high school with a 4.4 GPA and feels like he's never good enough and just has an awful, toxic, tense relationship with his parents. Because that relationship with his parents is creating his internal sense of self, his self-esteem, his self-love, helps him find balance in his life. And I think that's really important. So what I would do is I would game plan with your son. It's like, what are his expectations with homework and what are yours? Is there a middle ground you guys can find that both you can agree to? And then maybe it's setting a time of, okay, from time X to time Y, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, whatever that is, you're doing homework, and you're doing it in a place where there's no distractions. You're doing it at the dining room table, the kitchen table, in his room. It's probably too distracting, is my guess. You may need to make sure that his phone's not with him. There are some compromises here that he's not going to have that he wants. He probably wants to play video games all day, but he can't access video games until he's done with his homework. And maybe you say, I'm going to do an arbitrary time here, 2 hours. After 2 hours of you sitting and doing homework with a 15-minute break in the middle, after you're done, you're done. If you want to keep doing it, go ahead. But if you feel like you can't do anymore, then stop. And talk to his teachers, advocate with his teachers that, hey, he's doing all this homework, he needs a break. He also may need an extracurricular activity, which is really important, whether that's a sport, whether it's an instrument, theater, scouts, any number of things where he's having some positive social engagement or creative engagement with himself and other people. I think is really important. That's going to help him also. Also, you guys not arguing is a really big part of this. The arguing isn't worth it. It's just not. Now, you may be going, well, I want him to go to Princeton and Harvard. Again, that's not necessarily a recipe for success. There are a lot of people who grind and grind and grind, get to a, quote, good school, which no one can really define, and then they burn out because they're so burnt out from middle school and high school. So take your time, make sure you have some balance in his life, make sure you guys have a positive, healthy relationship. I'm not saying you'll never argue, because you will, because you're a human family, and human families will argue from time to time, but make sure there's a way to repair those. Make sure that it's not all about expectation and you achieving, because that's not really a healthy way to live life, and that's not really a recipe for success. When he's an adult and he has an adult mindset, he can turn that on once he finds his passion. And his passion may not be college. It may be in a trade. Maybe he wants to be an electrician or whatever it is. Maybe he's really into doing things with his hands and building things. There's no sense of going to college if you don't really want to go to college. It's a recipe for failure if you go to college because you have to and don't want to. So make sure you guys are focusing on your relationship. Set some reasonable boundaries that he can agree to. Realize he's going to do it imperfectly. And let him find his own passions that are outside of video games. And if he says that's all he has, again, get him involved in other activities that are social and creative so he does have less video games in his life. Anyways, it's a big topic. Thank you for your question. If you'd like me to answer your question here on Tips on Teens, email us just like everyone else does at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com. You can also direct message us right here on Facebook. We love your questions. Thank you very much. I'll see you next Wednesday, noon on Facebook Live. My name is Kent Toussaint with Teen Therapy Center and Child and Teen Counseling. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.